The Yankees have officially been eliminated from the playoffs by the Blue Jays in the ALDS, so let's talk about it. Welcome back to Good Sports for You, where we are talking about good sports for you, and today we are talking about what went wrong with the New York Yankees in this divisional series. But before we hop into it, I want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, do everything you can to help keep this channel growing. I appreciate it so much. But let's hop right into it. So we're really only going to talk about the divisional round. So my wild card, my quick recap is going to be they barely snuck by the Red Sox. Cam Schlittler delivered a game of a lifetime in Game 3 to even get them in this scenario. But if you want to hear more about my wild card thoughts and opinions, listen to my wild card recap video and tune into that. So the good things that happened with this Yankees team, and there aren't a lot. Cam Schlittler delivered once again. He pitched very well. Not quite as well, but he at least gave them a chance to win. David Bednar pitched incredible out of the pen, which I really think got overlooked a lot. Ryan McMahon over at third base, for being a defensive first guy, he delivered really well. He was incredible on defense. And on offense, he delivered a 900 OPS, including a home run in Game 4. So, I mean, you can't really ask for a whole heck of a lot more, considering that's your guy where he's a really good defender over at third base. If he can do anything with the bat, that's a plus. And then Aaron Judge also performed incredibly well. He hit 600 this series. He had a 1.617 OPS. That is so phenomenal, even if it's in the stretch of 4 games. And in the wild card round, he performed good too. So I don't want to hear oh, Judge playoffs, Judge is a playoff choker, because he wasn't. He came up in clutch moments, which you needed him to do. In Game 3 especially. I mean, that huge home run to tie the game. In the final game, he was getting hits in the last inning. He was doing everything that he could. It's hard to do when you're not getting guys on base. I mean, he did have moments where he choked, struck out with the bases loaded. He got out when runners were on. You can't have that. But at the end of the day, he did everything that he could. So I'm not faulting him. But the guys that you can fault on offense, Anthony Volpe. He hit .067 this series with 11 strikeouts. 11 strikeouts in 4 games. That's basically averaging 3 strikeouts a game for 4 games in a row. That a hat trick of strikeouts every single day is unfathomable. His OPS was 200. He was at the Mendoza line for batting average for OPS. The Mendoza line is the level of any hitter who's below this is basically a bad hitter, and that's 200 for batting average. That's what his OPS was. That's a combination of 2 stats. 2 stats, and you're getting what a bad batting average is? That is unbelievable. He performed so poorly. Trent Grisham, also, he was supposed to be one of your number 2 guys, him and Jazz Chisholm. And honestly, you could throw Ben Rice kind of in that equation. He was your breakout star. None of them performed well. Trent Grisham in the leadoff spot, batting 118 with a 387 OPS. Jazz Chisholm, like I said, he was your secondary star, your other all-star, behind Judge and Bellinger and everything like that. He hit 143. At least he had that home run in Game 3 because that was buoying his OPS, which is a 607, which is still bad for him. And also on the defensive side of the ball, he made crucial errors in Game 4 when it mattered the most. If he didn't make that error, if he turned a double play to end the inning, you have no idea what the game would have been like. It still would have been 2-1. It still would have been close. Maybe the offense gets going a little bit more. The Blue Jays don't go on this run. It's that's unacceptable. So it's that's a huge, huge negative for this guy who's supposed to be your 3rd star player. And then you also had Ben Rice. And Ben Rice was supposed to be oh my gosh, we're so deep. We also have Ben Rice. Well, he didn't perform well. Below 200 average, that's not acceptable for your guy that you're supposed to be relying on. You can't have that at all. Bellinger hit below 200. At least he had a 700 OPS. He was a little bit more situational hitting inclined. He could get on base a little bit more. So it's I'm not faulting Bellinger as much. And also he had some terrific defensive plays to save a bunch of runs. So I'm not faulting him. Austin Wells, over at your catcher. 231. Okay. Oh, 231. That's not bad from the catching position. But then you consider that his OPS is 462. So his on-base and slugging were the exact same as his average, which means he wasn't getting on base, he wasn't getting walks, and he wasn't hitting for any power at all. He wasn't hitting extra base hits. Unacceptable. Again, for a guy where you were oh, we have Austin Wells. He's a plus hitting catcher. He was not a plus hitting catcher basically this entire season, and in this series he was a huge negative hitting catcher. So you have so many holes in the lineup, and the thing about this lineup is none of it changed. You still had Trent Grisham leading off, you still had Anthony Volpe in every single day, you had a Volpe replacement, you had Jose Caballero. Jose Caballero could have played. He probably wouldn't have been a fantastic bat, but he probably would have been better than Volpe. And if you say, well, the defense is there for Volpe, Jose Caballero is a decent defender, he's decent enough, but the bat is so bad for Volpe that it's not going to make any difference. You're not going to have a guy who's striking out 11 times. And Jose Caballero is an objectively better base runner. Like a 200 OPS. You can't have that. And if you say, well, he's one of our guys, we're going to ride with him. You don't have to. You don't have to at all. Like, if he's not playing well, you can bench him. It's probably more beneficial for him. He's a young player, and you're ruining his confidence because you're keeping him in when he clearly can't hit. It's unacceptable. And Trent Grisham leading off every single game. You need to change something up. Something needs to change. You look over at the Brewers. The Brewers had the best record in baseball, and they were changing it up every single day. Pat Murphy had Brandon Lockridge starting a playoff game, and they lost only 4-3 in Wrigley against the Cubs. Like, Brandon Lockridge is starting with the best team in baseball, and the Yankees aren't willing to say, you know what, Trent Grisham, let's switch up the lineup a little bit. This clearly isn't working out. Trent Grisham wasn't a leadoff hitter. He was a guy who was looking to hit for power. He wasn't looking to get on base. You need to get on base when you have Aaron Judge behind you. Aaron Judge having his best postseason ever. And he wasn't awarded anything because the team around him was so bad. So bad. And then you look at some of the other things, like your clutch stats. With runners in scoring position in game 1, they were 1 for 7. Your game where you're supposed to set the tone, and your tone is we're not going to hit with runners on the bases. And then in game 4, when you go 1 for 6 in your do or die game with runners in scoring position, that's awful. It's awful. And they also struck out way more than the Blue Jays, like 50% more basically. You can't have that in the playoff series. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And then you look at the pitching side of things. I mean, game 1, Luis Seal didn't look sharp. He got pulled early. Then your bullpen came in and actually did really solid. You had Hill pitch well. You had Camilo Duval, who's been pretty poor for the Yankees, pitch incredible. And then you had Luke Weaver go in and everything got blown to pieces. And then Paul Blackburn made it even worse. So your pitching wasn't great there. Game 2 is so frustrating. That was supposed to be the game that the Yankees were supposed to take advantage of. You had Max Fried on the bump. Your A1 guy against Trey Savage, who was phenomenal, but he was a rookie. He was a rookie making his postseason debut. He had barely pitched, at all. This was supposed to be the moment you take advantage. You take advantage of the series. You win one behind your ace going against a rookie, and the rookie no-hits you for 5 innings, and Max Fried gives up 7 runs in 4. What is going on? And then you put in the relievers, and Will Warner does equally as bad. It was an unacceptable pitching performance on a game that was a must-win game. After that game, it was all hopes were out the window. And yeah, they made kind of a comeback late, but it never felt like they were in this game. And the Blue Jays were pitching their bums. They were pitching their bums in their bullpen. And then okay, you go to game 3. Game 3 you won, so you get kind of saving graces there. Rodon was terrible. Was absolutely terrible. He gave up 6 runs in 2 innings. Well, 2+ innings. You can't have that. And when you're looking at the hitting for the Blue Jays, the thing is, my biggest issue is Vlad is going to get his. George Springer is going to get his. You know what? Even Alejandro Kirk is going to get his. George Springer was pretty mid this series, honestly. So good job containing George Springer. Kirk was good. Vlad was out of this world. At a certain point, why are you even pitching to him? Just put him on every single at-bat. It doesn't matter. He's gonna make you pay if you pitch to him, and that's what he did consistently. But that is not my main gripe. My main gripe with this Yankees team is that is not who you let beat you. You let Ernie Clement beat you, you let Dalton Varsho beat you, and you let Addison Barger beat you. Ernie Clement had one of the best series I've ever seen. He hit over 600. Ernie Clement, and he had a good season. Don't get me wrong. He had a very good season. He had 5 RBIs, and he hit 643. Dalton Varsho. I'm a Dalton Varsho fan. I like Dalton Varsho a lot. He's a good defender, and he's a decent hitter. He hit .438 with 2 home runs in one game. In one game. Addison Barger hit 3 for 5 against you in your elimination game in Game 4. Those are not the guys you can say they're going to be the ones who beat us. If you say, if Vlad is going to do his thing, fine, whatever. That's fine. We know he's going to do what he does. He hates the Yankees, and he's incredible. And he is an incredible, incredible player. But you're letting Ernie Clement and guys like Miles Straw, everyone was getting hits off of you. Because that's who the Blue Jays are. That's not who the Yankees are. The Yankees are not everyone's going to hit. Everyone's going to try to hit a home run, and if they don't, they're going to strike out. And we're going to just rely on Aaron Judge to carry the load. The only guys who did anything, like Ryan McMahon. Ryan McMahon hit 1 home run. He's not accustomed to hitting in Yankee Stadium where you're basically like, oh, if you can get it over to the short porch in right field, basically anywhere, you get a home run. Because that's what it seems like the Yankees are relying on their offense. I listened to the Talking Yanks podcast last night on their live stream after, and that's what John Boy was saying. Essentially, it's like you're looking at 2 completely different approaches. The Blue Jays approach is essentially, let's hit the ball. We're not going to strike out. Let's just get the ball in play. Keep the train moving, Keep it moving down the line. You get on base. You get a hit. When basically with the Yankees, it's you're going to swing big on every single pitch. And the only guy who doesn't do that is remarkably Aaron Judge, who's the best power hitter in the entire league. But he recognizes, I don't need to hit a home run every single time. Let me shorten up my swing. Let me hit a line drive. Let it get into the gap. He's not going to hit a home run every single game, even though he is the best power hitter in the entire league. He's not doing that, though, and that is the philosophy that clearly the Yankees were lacking, and it showed. If they were doing what they could do and they were hitting home runs like they were doing in the regular season, maybe they would have had a chance. But the Blue Jays' philosophy is, let's just keep getting hits. Let's just keep getting hits and keep getting hits because that's going to support your entire team. And then, suddenly, instead of a solo home run by Vlad, then you're getting a 3-run home run, a 2-run home run, whatever it is, a grand slam by somebody, Or like, we get on base. And then you get somebody, Dalton Varsho runs into one. That's what you need. You needed people who run into them, not who are trying every single at-bat to hit a home run, because that's what it looked like, and it was a joke. It was a joke. The Blue Jays pitching staff made the whole entire Yankees team look like fools with their at-bats. It was absolutely humiliating for any fan of baseball, quite frankly. Like, I go to some Yankees games because I'm in New York and my roommate is a Yankees fan. So I go to some Yankees games, so I'm more familiar with their game. But I'm not a Yankees fan by any means. I wanted the Blue Jays to win this series, and they did. But as a baseball fan, you should look at this Yankees team and you should be embarrassed by how they performed. This Blue Jays team is good. Their pitching is not all-world pitching. Like, it's simply not. In fact, you could argue that their starting pitching is worse than the Yankees. The Yankees had 2 All-Stars who weren't able to do anything because they were facing this team that's just going to boom, 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 unrelentless, 1 through 9, unrelentless pests, essentially. They're going to poke and prod you the entire time. And the Yankees are going to say, no, we're not going to poke and prod you. We're going to go for the uppercut every single time. And we're going to miss the uppercut 9 out of 10 times, but we're going to hit 1 uppercut. Well, guess what? If you got a guy going like this the entire time at you, just boom, 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 you're going to get exhausted. You're going to get tired. And then the thing is, too, as a team, they looked exhausted by the final game. They looked done, just completely done. I mean, it was an unbelievable series. So, like, huge props to the Blue Jays because you did your thing. And like I said, like, Vlad carried, but Vlad arguably had worse numbers than Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge had a better OPS. Vlad hit more home runs, and everything like that. But the thing is, too, it's like I said, it's like Vlad had guys in front of him who were willing to do their jobs. The Yankees didn't have anyone who is willing to do their job. You don't need to swing for the home run every single time. So the big questions of, like, what went wrong with the Yankees, and it's so easy to say, the pitching was bad, the hitting was bad, everything was bad. It's a cop-out answer. So I want to focus on a couple key things. 1, Anthony Volpe needs to go. He was dreadful, and Yankees fans are unforgiving. And he performed so poor. They were booing him by the end of the game in the playoffs. And he's a kid. I feel bad for him because the Yankees probably ruined his confidence after this series. Like, something needs to change with Volpe. He performed so poorly. You can't have such a big black hole in your lineup that you're basically any team this season, any fan Any fan who sees him, they're like, okay, well, Rally's done. Volpe's at bat. And then also your secondary guys like Austin Wells performed terribly. Key defensive miscues seems to be a theme with the Yankees. The Jazz to some potentially inning-ending double play. Didn't happen. Should have happened. It didn't happen at all. And then that just led to more runs, and then it got out of hand. This seems to be a common formula. Pitching to Vlad Jr., at a certain point, you had to stop. You had to stop. And I know that, like I said, like everyone else is good on this team, but Vlad is making you pay every single time. At a certain point, you need to get him gone. And you need to say, fine, we've done everything that we can. Like in game 4, you had an open base. And I know that, like I said, every batter on the Blue Jays team is good, but you had an open base and you had Springer on second. And he rips one and Springer scores. Of course that was going to happen. Vlad is phenomenal against the Yankees, and he's so good at Yankee Stadium. And then the other pieces of the puzzle, not changing the lineup up. Something needed to change. I don't care what it was. I don't care if it was benching Volpe. I don't care if it's moving Grisham down the lineup. I don't care if it's changing everything up. I would have been happy if you moved Judge to the 5 spot, because then at least something would have changed. And nothing changed. And that's unacceptable. You're fighting for your playoff life and nothing changes. You cannot have that. And then the final thing is you let the other guys beat you. You can't have those guys be the guys who are making you pay. It seemed like this team underestimated the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays came in with a chip on their shoulder and they dominated. So now there are a lot of questions for the next season, and those questions are about free agents. You got a lot of them. Paul Goldschmidt had a solid season for you. You're going to keep him around. He's old now. Devin Williams performed like pretty poorly this entire season, but he started to pick it up for sure. Trent Grisham, he had a decent season. He was awful in the postseason. Luke Weaver, a mid-season, and he was one of the worst playoff pitchers I've ever seen in my life. Paul Blackburn, dreadful. I don't really care about him. Ahmed Rosario was just traded for recently, so whatever happens with him. And then the final 2 questions are, what are you doing with Volpe? Are you trading him? I think you should trade him. Are you going to cut him? I think that if you trade him, I don't think you're going to get a lot. Yeah, he's a young shortstop with high defensive upside, but you're wasting any trade value that you have with him because he has performed so poorly in every single aspect of this season. His defense has gone down. His hitting has been bad. And then when it matters most in the playoffs, he completely fell off the face of the earth. One of the worst hitting performances I've ever seen in the playoffs. And I've been watching the playoffs for a very long time. And it was easily one of the worst in a single series I've ever seen. And then the final question, which is the big one, is Boone going to be gone? Something needs to change about this team from the top down. And are you going to start with Boone? Management, something needs to change with management. Something needs to change about the Yankees' philosophy as a whole, because clearly it isn't working now anymore. And I mean, obviously, like if Garrett Cole was in, like, yeah, that would have been awesome. But like there were so many flaws. You can blame the pitching. Well, the hitting wasn't there for the majority of the series. Okay, you can blame the hitting then. Well, the pitching was awful. And you can and there are key issues that you need to address, because at the end of the day, it wasn't the entire lineup. Judge was great. Ryan McMahon was great. Not all pitching was bad. David Bednar was fantastic. Cam Schlittler delivered like a performance of a lifetime to even get you here. I feel so bad for that kid. He's a kid. He delivered everything that he could, and the defense fell apart behind him, and the offense couldn't get anything going. So it's like you have bright spots in every single spot, but some things need to be addressed. Your starting pitching clearly wasn't built for the moment, and your lineup had one too many black holes. Not just holes like soul-sucking, crushing holes in Volpe and then like Austin Wells, and honestly Trent Grisham at the top. It was an unacceptable performance from the Yankees. They didn't deserve to advance, and they didn't advance. You relied too much on Judge, and Judge did literally everything that he could. And it was unacceptable across the entire board. Something clearly needs to change with this Yankees team. But that's it for me. I hope you had a good time listening to me. I had a good time talking to you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. I would really appreciate it. And I'm out. Peace.